started with kitchen. Anything missing? Anything you want to recategorize into another group, or any questions that you still have regarding Jackson? Okay, kitchen. That was good. That's what we kind of thought with Jackson. We'll go to the back table. You guys can have.
If anybody doesn't see with the lighting, I guess it's a safety issue as well as an infrastructure issue, so I assume that's lights.
Yeah, and there's two types of lighting. There's a code-required safety and egress lighting, which would technically fall in a category, can overlap. And then there's just the general classroom lighting. If we remember, there's some pretty dim sections of that school.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of both there, if you agree.
Just a question, the lighting that you're talking about, can it be replaced or added?
Yes. All right, let's go to the next table up. Everything look all right?
Actually, no, we're good.
You're good?
Yeah.
All right, you're ready for the high school. All right, I like that. All right, over here.
One thing that I noticed, number 8, which wasn't actually a CFAQ one, but it's got office outlets, Ethernet, and layout. Well, it looks like the layout would be designed, or it fits in the safety and security, but I would say office outlets and Ethernet infrastructure more so than safety and security.
Okay, good catch. Yep. We will get that. Any other thoughts from your table on Jackson? All right. How about you guys?
On number 78 about the media center, in addition to the issues listed there, it also doesn't have enough, because it doesn't have wall space, it doesn't have enough shelving to hold their materials.
Okay, insufficient stack space. Okay.
Can we clarify what the media center's purpose and use is?
The library function?
Okay, the media center is what
Yeah,
the library is.
yeah, yep. I'm in a bad spot here. I'm moving. Yes.
As we spoke, that many of the issues that are here are also issues in some of the other schools. They're not unique to Jackson, like the daycare drop-off, that the whole building and if the gym is rented out, that, you know, that, I mean, that's kind of, everybody has that problem. That doesn't mean we let it go, but it's not unique to Jackson.
Agree, yeah, and I think that's a key point. This is really the purview of this committee. For the next step in the master plan was to focus on Jackson and the high school. But you're right, there. Some of these needs are potentially common across other elementary schools throughout the district. All right, anything else from your table? All right, final group. What do we do?
We just had a couple comments. One was, there are a lot of things like replacing urinals and sinks and stuff, and a lot of things like that. When listen, it just, my question is, why weren't these done? I mean, it's like neglect for Jackson, knowing that they wanted to go to the school. I went through the school a couple weeks ago. I thought it was solid. I thought they were great learning environments. One teacher had the shades pulled, so not every teacher likes light flaring in all the time. So also the parking across the street, I say so what? That's just what happens at many workplaces. You have to sometimes park. And where I work, in winter we have a shuttle because the parking lot is so far from the building and it's so far in the morning when people get there. I see a lot of wants versus needs for things. Let's see, what else do we have?
I had some questions about why some of these things were not done, like replacing sinks. For example, this the weak hollow wooden doors. Don't we have security reviews that are being done at our schools? The security system at the front of the building, why is that not up to speed? This lacks, number 3, lacks true secure entry sequence. How does that compare to the other elementary schools? I just toured Jackson and it was not pointed out to us. So what does that mean?
So that is providing a secure entry similar to the middle schools. So the two buildings that have had the investment
there are
made.
elementary schools that have that though. Don't they?
The secure entry meaning you enter and you are checked in at the office and then you're released into the school.
McLean has that.
Versus being buzzed in.
No other school has that, only the middle schools have what he's
So the high
talking about.
school doesn't even have it.
No.
Right, only the middle
So this
schools.
is not a need just unique. This is a lot of our concerns. There's a lot of things on here that seem to be similar at other elementary schools.
Yes.
So why are we funding possibly a referendum for the same exact things that exist at other schools, like a smaller than usual nurse room, or a separation between sick and well children, that is all, you know, that's at other elementary schools. I don't understand why this goes on the big wish list. It looks like we're very greedy here. It really does.
This isn't a discussion about the referendum, there's no referendum.
That's what everyone keeps saying, but this is eventually going to be probably built into a document, why we need to build a new Jackson school. I'm
Well, the
assuming.
decision to build a new Jackson was made in the prior efforts as was reviewed at the last committee meeting.
Okay, so
and
why
it's
do we
been-
need to go through all of this?
Because we need to help the community understand why a new Jackson is being
Okay,
considered.
but some of these things are needed at other schools, and it's misleading to make it sound as if Jackson is totally way back behind the other schools. I
That's
think-
not what this says.
I
It
believe
doesn't
it
say
says
that
that.
anywhere on here that
Well,
this
it's-
is worse than the other schools
But
in the
it says
district.
that it has exactly the same things that some of the other schools have.
It does not say that. You
Well, it
can't
doesn't
find
talk
another
about-
reference to
Yeah,
other
it does not
schools on
reference,
this
no, I'm
list.
sorry, it
Okay.
doesn't reference, and I'm gonna become the bad person now. It does not reference another school, but I know for a fact from my child going to McLean that they have a very small nurse's office that is undersized. They do not separate the sick and well children. I thought there was also number 109, there was a big room at Jackson that we thought was wonderful, and that cannot be used as a conference room then? That big room, multi-purpose room, whatever. Some of this is very misleading as far as I'm concerned.
And they did say in the last school board meeting, Monty Schmiegi, I think, asked, and he said, aren't we leading the way to the referendum? The answer was yes.
I think that was intentional.
Okay.
And he asked a question about that. What his question was is, if this committee completes its work by April 23rd is the date for the last presentation of this committee to the school board, what he asked was, would there be time should a referendum go forward, would there be time to have it on a November ballot?
Mhm.
And I believe that was the exact question was asked.
Okay.
My point
So-
is that there are many people out in the community who have not had children ever in the schools, or maybe they haven't had a child in the schools for 30 years, and they're thinking now that, oh my gosh, Jackson's nurse's office is undersized, thinking that everybody else has a wonderful, big, modern nurse's office. That's what they may come to that conclusion.
That's entirely possible.
Yes.
I guess I'd like to address your previous comment about why Jackson and why not everybody else.
No, I'm just saying, I think we're misleading people because there are other things that are going on at the other elementary schools that are very similar, almost identical.
Absolutely. The reason that Jackson has been looked at more closely than Decorah or Fair Park right now is because when we went through the 25-year plan process, there were a huge number of infrastructure mechanical issues at Jackson compared to the other two buildings, which again is not to say that they aren't there, but the needs at Jackson were greater than at the other buildings.
But it seems like they've also been delayed, like replacing sinks and urinals. You know, we went through and upgraded Green Tree, we upgraded McLean fairly recently, and this has been neglected, and I'm very concerned about, it has been neglected, but I'm also concerned about, are we looking at, do we have to build a new building because we bought the property, or has anyone, did they eventually at some point look at remodeling? It is almost always cheaper to remodel, I understand, than to build from scratch.
That's not, I don't think you can say that unequivocally.
Well, you can't say that 100%, no,
Okay.
you can't.
What meeting was it that you were referring to where?
The last meeting, but when was it decided?
What last meeting was decided that you would lean towards a new Jackson?
Well, that was part of the long-range facility, 25-year facility master plan that's been adopted by the board
How
for
long ago did they
But
decide
that was
to
before
build?
there
8
was-
years ago.
That was before the fifth graders were gone.
No,
That
it
was
was part of
that
the
was
same
just part of the
recommendation.
same thought process.
So it's too late to
The
even look at
referendum
remodeling
passed.
at this point? It's
I'm
too
not gonna
late.
say that it's too late. I mean, if there's something that comes up that points us in that direction, then I think we have to go there. I mean, I don't think we can close the door on anything. But, as I said last time, the plan was going forward that we would bring this to the public. We brought it to the public, actually even when Dave was on the board, because he was part of the 25-year plan in putting it together. So that's
So
Just trying
for-
to answer your question
So
of
for
why
that
it's
reason,
there.
that's probably why some of these things were neglected, knowing that they were going to build a new Jackson, because some of these things, like a new sink or a new urinal, put that in the budget, I mean, to replace them. I mean,
And again, the last meeting, we went through the budget that the district has for facility
and I don't
maintenance and
remember the
operations.
details, and I wasn't at the
And-
last
Yeah.
meeting, but I'm
Okay.
just saying that it appears
there's
that
different- there's
it
two
has
sides to
been
that story.
neglected, it has been neglected.
So
And we're
can,
to this
just
point
to
now.
keep on track, are
Can I
we?
just make one comment?